Everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my tips and tricks for getting the perfect foundation match. Whether you're going out to buy a new foundation at the makeup counter or Sephora, or you are trying to find one in your own stash that will work for you. You have all these colors that none are quite right. I'm going to show you ways to possibly get those to work for you without having to go out and spend more money. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I just want to tell you briefly about my background. I've been in the makeup industry for over 20 years. I started my career with Laura Mercier in 1996 as a makeup artist and a counter business manager. I've worked for Bobbi Brown, I have worked for Trish McEvoy, I have worked for Chanel. I do have a lot of experience in the makeup arena. I've never been a celebrity makeup artist, but I have done a lot in what matters to the day-to-day woman, which is work in that retail environment, behind the scenes at makeup counters. I've also been a trainer. I freelanced in Sephora, Ulta, so I have a lot of insider information to share. So please don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel if this is the kind of content that interests you. So as I just mentioned, I spent a lot of my makeup career in the retail arena. One of the jobs I had was for a brand called Prescriptives. A lot of you may remember it. A lot of you may also remember that with Prescriptives, color printing was the thing. They had 4 categories that they would place everybody's skin tone in. You were either a yellow orange, a red orange, a blue red, or I think an orange. I don't remember what the 4th one is. Anyway, what we would do is a customer would come sit down at the counter. We would do a swipe on the person's cheek of each 4 of the color categories, and then we would determine which one matched their undertone. I have to tell you that 98% of people were in the yellow-orange category. Very few people fell into the other category. There were a few blue-reds, but in the other 2 categories, hardly any. So that is the way you knew what kind of color combinations you should choose. They had all the makeup broken up into these 4 categories, the lipsticks, the eyeshadows, the blushes, so you could choose within your personal color print. We also did custom blending of foundations and powders at the counter. So custom blending was always one of my favorite things to do. I loved giving the client the perfect shade of foundation. It was a little bit more expensive than their other foundations. It was more like $50, $55 versus $30, $35 for their other foundations. And at the time, no other foundation was really that expensive. You didn't see a lot of 60, 70 or anything more than that you do now. So I loved doing those custom blends. I loved redoing a custom blend that somebody had done at another counter by someone else, where they would brought it back and they said, you know, this still isn't right, and I would fix it for them. You could add in more yellow, you could add in more green, you could add in purple, you could add in something to help control oil, you could add in something that helped make the foundation more high coverage, less coverage. It was just so much fun doing that for people, and the powder too, because it was just fun. Something about chopping up the powder and then kind of like smushing it down and then chopping it up again. It was a great way to also occupy your time when you're working at a makeup counter, because sometimes it could get pretty slow, and I would just love when I could just sit down with someone. They would sit down at the other end of the table, we would start chatting, we would start blending. It was a lot of fun. So I think doing that so much was one of the main reasons why I've gotten so good at just custom blending my own foundations for clients, whether it's with the same brand or not with the same brand, or just using whatever I have to come up with the perfect shade. And I'm gonna talk to you about how I do that in this video. I'm also going to be doing a demo on how to get the best foundation match when you're at a makeup counter. So I'm gonna get to that demo in just a second, but before that, I wanna mention a couple of things that I think I forgot to mention in the demo. One of those things is always check in natural light. If you are at a department store, ask for a hand mirror and go over to the natural light. So when you've swatched colors on your face, take the mirror over and judge that way. Never judge in fluorescent light. It's terrible and most often off. The second thing that's really important is don't ever test foundation on the back of your hand or on your inner wrist. My inner wrist is a good 10 shades lighter than my face. My hand is also lighter than my face, and also doesn't have the same texture as my face. So the foundation is gonna look different, it's gonna lay different, it's gonna appear different. So never use any part of your arm to test foundation. So without any further ado, let's get to the demo, followed by some tips for custom blending your perfect shade. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to select my perfect foundation shade, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. Today I'm going to be using Estee Lauder Double Wear. I have 3 shades here. I have Tawny, I have Sand, and I have Rattan. Rattan is 2W2, Sand is 2W1, and Tawny is 3W1. Now what that W means in W wear is warm, because they split them up into neutral, cool, and warm. So 3N1 or 2C, that is cool, which means it's going to have more pink undertones. Neutral is supposed to have a balance of pink and yellow, and then the warm tones are going to be your more yellow, olive undertone foundations. And the reason why I personally prefer warm is that even though my face has a lot of pink tones in it, the rest of my body is pretty neutral. I actually do have a more of a yellow undertone. I'm one of those people that can wear either silver tone jewelry or gold tone jewelry, and that's one of the ways you can sort of tell if you're a warm or a cool. Put up some big gold earrings to your face, and then put up some big silver earrings to your face. Whichever one is more complementary to your skin tone is usually the color tones that will work best on you. So if silver looks best on you, you might want to do the neutral to cool tones. But if the gold tones really light up your face, then try warmer tone foundations and maybe some warmer tone eyeshadows. And again, there are people like myself that can pretty much do both. And I personally, once again, prefer something with a little more yellow in it because it matches my neck and chest better. So I'm one of those people that believes if you're in between two shades, ideally you would buy both if you could. If it's a drugstore foundation, usually I will, because there's no testers. So if I think I'm in between two shades, sometimes I'll buy both and just mix. And I'm gonna get to the custom blending of foundations in just a moment. But as far as when you're trying to on your skin at a department store and maybe it's a $60 foundation, you're certainly not gonna buy two, or maybe you are, but I'm personally not gonna buy two $60 foundations. So what I will do, I will choose the darker one. Now I know some people don't agree with it. They would rather go with the one that's a little bit lighter and then maybe use a bronzing product. But I have seen so much of what I call ghost face on my Facebook feed in the last several years, where when you get a candid photo taken, your face is several shades lighter than your body. And I know some people say, oh, that's just the SPF in the foundation, that's just the SPF. It's not always the result of the SPF. It could be the powder, but 97% of the time, it's because someone chose a foundation that was too light. But again, if you're in between the shades, my personal feeling is to go a little bit darker, go with the darker one, and blend it down your neck. That way you have no chance of getting ghost face in your candid photos. So I've started with Tawny, and I'm putting a little bit on my finger, and I am drawing a line from my lower cheek area down my neck. Now for most people, their neck is going to appear lighter than their face. Now that's a little bit of your eyes kind of deceiving you, because your face has a lot of redness in it. Usually most people have redness in their skin and maybe not as much on their neck. That's giving your face some color, which also gives it the illusion of being a little bit darker. So now can you see that after a minute or so, it's oxidized? So you definitely want to wait at least a minute or even two before deciding which one looks best. Gotta get my hair out of the way here so you can see. So actually I'm gonna move it down here so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so this is rattan, lighter and more yellow. Tawny is definitely darker and has more of an olivey, almost orangey tone to it. Finally, I'm using sand, which is 2W1. Put a little bit more Tawny on just so the swatches are a little bit more similar. Now, once you've narrowed your choices down to 3 shades, you want to blend them out. Now, I'm going to blend them out on my neck, because as you can see on my face, the Tawny actually disappears into my skin. But down here, it definitely looks off. So that's why we're doing both. So now I'm going to take and I'm blending out the sand, blending out the Tawny, and then blending out the rattan. So what do you guys think? It's the sand. The sand definitely matches my neck. So what I tell you to do next is take a little bit more of the color you chose and try to put it on a larger area in the center of your face. So in my case, it's gonna be my T-zone area. Like right here is where I like to test foundation on people. So that way I can see if the overall look is going to match. So when I put this all over, I feel like it looks a little light. So I'm gonna go to the next closest shade, which is rattan. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, this is a lot of work, but it is. Finding the perfect foundation shade is a little bit time consuming, but once you get it, then you're so happy because you have confidence every day that you're putting on the right shade. Okay, so now here is the rattan. So this is the rattan, and I'm definitely feeling like this is the better shade for me to choose right now, because if I put this sand all over my face, I feel like I would look very, very white. And also my chest, I don't know if you can see, is a little bit darker than my neck. So I know some people don't like to do this. They don't like to blend foundation down their neck, but I'm okay with it. I use my beauty blender. So really, I'm not putting a ton of foundation on my neck. I'm just blending it down and making sure everything is smooth and even. So now I'm going to be putting rattan all over the rest of my face so you can see. This is almost empty, so it has no pump. I'm just trying to get the last bits out of it. Okay, so now that we've gone over how to get a perfect match at the makeup counter, let's talk a little bit about how to custom blend your perfect shade. Now here's something you might not have considered. You can mix two foundations that aren't from the same brand. You can mix two different types of foundations. You can mix a glowy foundation with a matte foundation. You can mix a high coverage foundation with a tinted moisturizer. You can do whatever combination you choose. So one of my favorite tips to share for people that want more coverage sometimes, maybe on a day-to-day basis, you like sheer to medium coverage, but once in a while you wanna go for full coverage glam, maybe for a night out, maybe for some professional photos you're having taken. So this little guy right here, this is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. And again, it doesn't have to be MAC, it doesn't have to be this high coverage, but this concealer is a wonderful additive to any other foundation. Yes, they make custom color drops now, different brands, Cover FX, I think NYX has them now too. You could go that route. Or if you're already using this shade as a concealer, you can use it to lighten up a too dark shade. If your concealer is a couple shades lighter than your foundation, then you can use it to lighten up, like say your tan fades or your self tan's fading and you need just a little bit more lightness, you can add this and it will also add more coverage. If you're an oily skin, you can also use this as a foundation. I have done it and it's actually really amazing. Cost-wise, price-wise, it's probably not the most cost-effective thing to do, but once in a while, especially if you're in a bind or maybe you're traveling and you don't want to take big bottles with you, this can work as a foundation. So as a makeup artist, when I go see a client, of course I'm going to have a variety of makeup shades. I have a lot of MAC Studio Fix, I have a lot of Giorgio Armani, I have some Fiona Styles, I have some Double Wear. So I'll bring a variety of shades, but 99% of the time, I do end up custom blending at least a little bit. For the MAC Studio Fix, maybe I'll take one pump of the NC20 and I'll put a little bit with NW30 because I just like to have the perfect shade for people. So as I mentioned earlier, you can purchase two different colors and mix them, or you can take maybe a foundation you already have. So this is the Infallible Pro Glow, and this is in the shade 208. So this foundation is too dark and too glowy for me. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this concealer, which is MAC Pro Longwear NC20, and I am going to put a little bit of that on the back of my hand as well. So now you can see how light that one is. But now I'm going to blend the two together on the back of my hand. And look at what a perfect match that became. What I like about this combination is that I'm getting a little bit of the glow from the Pro Glow, but it's not gonna be as glowy because I've added in the matte concealer to it. It's also gonna give it a little bit more of that real flawless finish. For me, the Pro Glow had good coverage, but it wasn't like a flawless finish on me. But with this added to it, it does become a little bit more matte, a little bit more flawless, a little bit more wearable for someone who might veer a little bit more oily. Now I could go on and on showing you different foundation combos, but instead I'm just gonna tell you that you really should try it on your own. Try a couple foundations that you already have, just play around. And then what I do, pumps are my friend. I love to have pumps in foundation. I talk about that in every foundation review. I love to have a pump or a squeeze tube. That's the easiest way to custom blend a foundation, is to use something that has a pump. For those of you that did not know, the MAC pumps fit into the Double Wear bottles, as you might have seen earlier in my demo. So I highly recommend getting pumps for whatever foundation you have if you're gonna be blending. And I just use, as you saw, the back of my hand, a pump, and then you can either use a brush. I don't have a flat foundation brush because I don't really use them, but you can use a flat brush to move it around and then apply it to your skin. or even your fingers, I like to use a beauty blender. And what I'll do is I'll take the two shades and I'll kind of go like this, blend it all together, and then apply it to my skin. So to recap all of this, when you're at a makeup counter, whether you're on your own or you have assistants, narrow the colors down to 2 or 3, test them on your jawline onto your neck first, and then go to a larger location on the face, like the forehead or the cheek area like you saw in my demonstration. And if you're at home and you have all these foundations, but none of them are quite right, start experimenting. Start mixing a couple together, different formulas, different shades. Try mixing a little concealer to lighten up a product. You don't have to go out and buy these new custom color drops or a white mix-in or any of these pigments that you can mix in. Try using what you already have and seeing what you come up with. You might find an amazing combination that works better for you than anything you've ever tried on the market. But trust me, once you find that perfect combination, you will be very grateful that you watched this video. So I'm pretty sure I covered all of my tips and tricks. I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Please follow me on my other social media accounts, which are Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. All of those things are Risa Does Makeup. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon.